Imagine you're Julius Caesar, it's 45 BCE, and you have a grand task at hand to propose a calendar for an entire empire. A calendar that was meant to keep everyone on the same page, so to speak. You base it on a tropical year, the time it takes for the seasons to repeat. You come up with the idea of a year with 365 and a quarter days, with a leap day every fourth year. Simple enough, right? But there's a twist. You see, that tropical year isn't quite as straightforward as one might think. It's not a perfect 360-degree revolution around the sun, and its length is a bit more than just 365 days. It's actually, well, we'll get to that in a moment. Now fast forward to the second millennium, and suddenly your calendar is falling out of line with the seasons. Winter solstice happening early, spring equinox coming in March, break time obtuous. It's all a bit strange, isn't it? But wait, there's more. And we'll dig into that soon enough. What's up, my amazing and curious folks? Ready to unravel mysteries together? I'm your host, Caesar, and alongside me is the always insightful Sonia. We're here to take you on a journey through time and space on the Curiosity Wonderland.
Hi everyone, excited to dive into today's curiosity with you all.
And before we get started, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon to stay updated on all our episodes. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on what's coming. Now, if you think about it, the calendar we use today isn't as straightforward as it seems. Let's take an example. Isaac Newton was born on Christmas Day of 1642, but that's only true because England hadn't yet adapted to the Gregorian calendar. His actual birthday was on January 4th, 1643, according to our modern calendar.
Oh, so calendars can cause quite a bit of confusion in the history books.
Indeed. Just consider the case of Cervantes and Shakespeare. We're often told they died just one day apart, but in reality, the difference was 11 full days. The disparity was due to their respective countries following different calendars at the time.
That's wild. I never realized the impact of our calendar system on historical facts. But how did this confusion relate to the Julian calendar?
Well, the Julian calendar, which was proposed by Julius Caesar, has been at the center of this historical confusion. It's been the most enduring calendar, used continually for centuries, but the way it tracked the passage of time was fundamentally flawed.
And how exactly was it flawed?
Let me give you a perspective. Let's say you weren't here on planet Earth, but millions of miles up above the sun's north pole. You're watching Earth, the third planet from the sun, orbiting around it. You'd be able to measure how much time it took for Earth to complete a full 360-degree revolution around the sun. This is what astronomers call a sidereal year. It takes a little bit over 365 days, where a day is defined by the amount of time it takes Earth to spin 360 degrees about its axis.
Wow, that's a new way of looking at our calendar year.
Funny enough, this reminds me of an event I attended recently. It was a midsummer bonfire, and the host had carefully planned it to fall on the summer solstice. He explained that the solstice was the longest day of the year, marking the peak of summer, and that it was all due to Earth's axial tilt and its orbit around the sun.
That's a lovely story. Coincidentally, I had a similar experience. I remember being part of a harvest festival back in my hometown, which was always aligned with the autumnal equinox. The elders in the village would explain how the equal length of day and night on that day signaled the perfect time for harvesting crops.
Exactly. And that's what separates the tropical year from the sidereal year. For us humans, it's not about how long it takes for Earth to make a complete 360-degree revolution around the sun. It's about the cycle of the seasons, from spring equinox to spring equinox, summer solstice to summer solstice, autumnal equinox to autumnal equinox, or winter solstice to winter solstice.
So the tropical year is more attuned to our human experience of time.
Precisely. It's about matching up our calendar with the cycle of the seasons. And to get that right, we need to understand the precise length of the tropical year. It's been measured extremely accurately. It's exactly 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 45 seconds.
That's incredibly precise. But it's also slightly shorter than the sidereal year, right?
Good catch. It's about 20 minutes and 24.5 seconds shorter. This difference arises because Earth's equinoxes slowly precess with respect to our orbit around the Sun, causing our celestial north and south poles to change over time. So on timescales of more than 20,000 years, Earth's axial orientation shifts in a circular pattern. Interesting, isn't it? These precise details of our calendar system are a relatively recent addition to human knowledge. Thousands of years ago, people realized that the lunar calendar, based on the number of full moons in a year, didn't align with the solar calendar, which was our proxy for the tropical year at the time. So, their systems consisted of 12 full moons or lunar months, with an occasional 13th intercalary month inserted into the year to keep the lunar and solar calendars aligned.
You mentioned intercalary month. Can you give me an example of how that would work?
Of course. Let's say there's a year where the lunar and solar calendars are falling out of sync. The powers that be might decide to insert an extra or intercalary month into the calendar to bring the two back into alignment. This could happen every 2 or 3 years, depending on the cycle of the moon.
Oh, I see. So it was a way to make sure the lunar and solar calendars didn't drift too far apart. But wasn't there some problem with this system?
Yes, during the era of the Roman Republic, this intercalary system was susceptible to political manipulation. The decision to add or not add the extra month could be influenced by those in power and their political motives. To overcome this, Julius Caesar proposed a reform in 46 before the Common Era. He suggested that the calendar be governed by the sun, a solar calendar, to free it from the concerns of human tampering.
And this was the start of the Julian Calendar?
Exactly. On January 1st, 45 before the Common Era, the Julian calendar was adopted. It assigned 365 and 1/4 days to the year, with an extra leap day added every 4th year. This approximation wasn't a Roman invention, though. The Egyptians had known about it for over 1,000 years by Caesar's time.
How interesting. So this tinkering with the calendar system has been ongoing for thousands of years.
We have to remember that a day isn't merely the time it takes for the Earth to spin a full 360 degrees. It's also determined by the return of its axis to the same position relative to the Sun to the year before.
Makes sense. And wasn't the Julian calendar accepted by most of the Western world?
Yes, for about 1600 years, it was the standard. But by the middle of the second millennium of the Common Era, it became apparent that the solstices and equinoxes were drifting from their initial calendar dates.
How did that happen?
It was due to the small mismatch between the 365.25 days assigned to the average year by the Julian calendar versus the actual length of the tropical year on Earth, which is 365.24219 days.
So it's a matter of minutes, really?
Yes, only about 10.8 minutes per year. But over the course of 1600 years, that added up to put the Julian calendar and the actual tropical year out of sync by around 12 full days.
Oh wow, so our calendars have been evolving too.
That's a great way to put it. The calendar we use today can't be successfully applied to either our distant past or future, as the Earth's rotation period is slowing down over time. We're forever spiraling away from the sun. So the human race was faced with a decision. We either had to adjust to a drifting calendar, where the seasons increasingly fell out of sync with their initial calendar dates, or we had to adopt a new type of calendar system, with a shift added to realign the calendar and the actual experiential year. The solution came in the 16th century with the invention and spread of the Gregorian calendar.
And this was proposed by Pope Gregory the 13th, right?
That's correct. In 1582, the Pope proposed a new calendar which quickly replaced the Julian calendar in many parts of the world. To better align our calendar with the actual tropical year, the way we insert leap days changed. Instead of occurring every 4 years, leap days would only happen every 4 years, except for years that ended in 00, marking a turn of the century.
So that's why we had a leap year in 2000, but not in 1900. And we won't have one in 2100.
Exactly. Only if those years are divisible by 400 do they get a leap day. This reform greatly improved timekeeping. The Gregorian calendar provides an average of 365.2425 days per year over the centuries, compared to the actual length of a tropical year at 365.24219 days.
So the Gregorian calendar is only off by about 27 seconds per year? That's incredible.
Yes, it is. It means that while the Julian calendar drifted out of sync from the tropical year by 1 day roughly every 128 years, it would take around 3,200 years for the Gregorian calendar to drift out of sync by even 1 day. Isn't it amazing? This world of curiosities is filled with such intriguing and complex facts. It's truly fascinating. I wonder what our listeners think. Are you enjoying these discoveries? How do you feel about the precision of our modern calendar? Remember to hit the like button if you're enjoying the content. We love delving into these curiosities, and we hope you do too. Now, when Pope Gregory XIII made his calendrical reform in 1582, there was a significant issue to address. The old calendar and the actual solar or tropical year were already quite misaligned.
So there were too many leap days added under the Julian calendar?
These extra days had been added to 12 calendar years, so the fix was to remove some of them. This is where the Gregorian calendar starts to replace the less accurate Julian one.
But how did they manage to make this switch?
Well, dates had to be removed from the calendar to allow humanity to catch up to the Earth. For example, in the UK and its territories, including the now USA, 11 days were removed from September in the year 1752.
And what about other countries?
In several Western European countries, the Julian calendar was used until October 4th, 1582. Then the next day, still a Friday, fell under the Gregorian calendar system and was October 15th, 1582.
So 10 days just disappeared?
Exactly, from October 5th to October 14th, 1582, those days were omitted. This allowed the calendar year and the actual seasons to sync back up again.
What a drastic measure.
Indeed, but necessary. And this new system quickly gained worldwide acceptance. France and the Netherlands adopted the new system later in 1582, and Austria, Switzerland, and Germany joined them in 1583. However, many countries resisted adopting the new system for a long time, especially those with large non-Catholic populations. The change to the Gregorian calendar wasn't an instant worldwide phenomenon. England and its colonies, including what is now the USA, didn't switch until 1752. Sweden and Finland followed in 1753, Japan in 1873, Egypt in 1875, and Russia only adopted it in 1918.
That would explain the naming of the October Revolution, despite it starting on November 7th, 1917 by the Gregorian calendar.
Precisely. And it wasn't until 1923 that Greece, the last European country, made the change. However, because they switched later, these countries had to remove more than the initial 10 days to get back in sync with the rest of the world.
That's fascinating. So the later a country switched, the more days it had to remove?
Exactly. For example, in the United Kingdom and its then colonies, 11 days had to be removed. September 3rd to 13th of 1752 never existed there. In Egypt and Japan, the year 1800 had also passed by the time they switched, so they had to remove 12 days from their calendars.
And the places that still use the Julian calendar today?
They remain 13 days out of sync with the Gregorian ones. But this will increase to 14 days as February 28 transitions to March 1st in 2100, since that will be a leap day on the Julian but not Gregorian calendars.
Wow, it's incredible how a simple change in calendar can alter historical facts. For instance, we learned that Isaac Newton was born on Christmas in 1642, the year Galileo died. But with the Gregorian dates, he was actually born on January 4th of 1643.
Yes, it's fascinating how our understanding of historical events can be influenced by something as seemingly mundane as a calendar system. Do you have any curiosity to share about this?
Yes, a related curiosity is that some cultures today still follow lunar calendars, which are quite different from our solar-based Gregorian calendar. For example, the Islamic calendar, used by Muslims worldwide for religious observances, is purely lunar, and each year is about 10 to 11 days shorter than a Gregorian year. This means Islamic holidays, like Ramadan, move in the Gregorian calendar each year, occurring earlier each time. It's another layer of complexity in our understanding of time.
Now there's more to this story. The moon exerts a tidal force on the Earth, causing a braking effect on the Earth's rotation. This slows our spin and lengthens our day.
So the day is actually getting longer?
Yes, and this is also causing the moon to spiral outward from the Earth, which is why there will be no total solar eclipses after another 600 million years.
Truly mind-boggling, but how does this affect our calendar?
Well, with our solar system structure and our understanding of gravity, we actually need a calendar scheme that matches up with the tropical year. But as Earth's rotation continues to slow, the number of Earth days in a tropical year is changing.
So, we might have to tweak our calendar again in the future?
That's right. In another 4 million years, we'll have to remove leap years entirely as days get longer. And beyond that point, we'll have to introduce negative leap days to keep our calendar in sync with the seasons.
Negative leap days? Now that's something I've never heard of.
It's quite a concept. And some 21 million years from now, there will be just 364 Earth days in a tropical year. Around 200 million years from now, Earth's rotational period will lengthen so much that it will outpace Mars as the planet with the third longest rotational period in the solar system.
Wow, so we might need to evolve our calendar with our planet to keep our sense of time in sync with the natural world?
Absolutely. As a species, if we survive for thousands of years to come, we will have to consider a calendar that evolves along with our planet. It's the only way to keep the tropical year and our way of marking time in sync, as the physical properties of the solar system change over time. It's fascinating to consider the interplay between the physical changes of our planet and the systems we've created to understand and measure time. As we've seen, our calendar systems, from the Julian to the Gregorian, and potentially future iterations, are not just arbitrary constructs, but reflections of our evolving understanding of the universe and our place in it. We've come a long way since the times of Julius Caesar, and who knows where our journey will take us in the millennia to come.
It's been an eye-opening discussion, to say the least. It's amazing to think about how something as simple as the calendar we use every day has such a deep and complex history, and how it is tied to our understanding of the cosmos. It brings a whole new meaning to the phrase, "time flies."
Absolutely. Changes in our calendar system have mirrored our increased knowledge of the universe around us. If humanity continues to evolve and survive, our calendar will need to evolve with us, reflecting the changes in our planet and our solar system. As time progresses and days lengthen, we may need to rethink our concept of time once again. But for now, we'll stick with our Gregorian calendar and its leap years. It's a system that, however imperfect, has served us well for the last 400 years and will likely serve us for many more to come. So there you have it. The mystery behind our calendar is deeply rooted in our understanding of the cosmos. The Julian calendar, while a revolutionary step in its time, was flawed due to our imperfect understanding of our journey around the sun. Later on, the Gregorian calendar improved upon this by tweaking the way we account for leap years. But as we continue to learn, even this might not be enough. As our planet's rotation slows, we may need to redefine our concept of time yet again in the distant future. It's a timely reminder that everything in this universe is in a constant state of flux.
Absolutely. It's fascinating to see how the simple act of marking time is connected to our evolving understanding of the universe and our place in it. So folks, if you found this journey through time as intriguing as we did, please blast that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to share this episode with your friends and family, because who knows, you might just help someone win a trivia night.
That's right. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the mystery of our calendar system. Remember, knowledge expands when it's shared, so keep the conversation going.
Until next time, this is Sonia
And Caesar, signing off. Stay curious and keep exploring. I stumbled upon this fascinating information in an article titled, "How Humanity's Most Enduring Calendar Failed Us All," written by Ethan Siegel, published on Big Think on the 3rd of January, 2024. If you're keen on diving deeper into the subject, you'll find the full URL in the video description. All right, now I'm off.